Welcome to the Say It Different podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'm joined every episode with my great friend, Justin Dailey. Our hope is to have real, authentic, and helpful conversations about the issues that we're all facing and talking about. Our perspective is going to say it different. Right before we started recording, Jackson, who's part of our production team, was telling me that he cuts his grass barefoot.
Really?
I'm not sure.
That was such a good intro. I didn't even know you started.
Yeah, hey, we're just hitting it.
Jumped right in.
We're just hitting it going here.
Yeah, so authentic.
We're in Florida. I think I have some concerns. Now, Jackson's 23. He's a new generation. Maybe there's something I'm missing with
Maybe.
it. I'll be open.
But barefoot.
Barefoot on a push mower.
Ooh, rocks.
So you got the terrain to think about.
Yeah.
He's also from the north, which isn't a bad thing. But we're in
like
Florida.
A Civil War reference, or like
No.
Okay.
No, but it is a you don't know the terrain. I'm Florida born and raised. There's a lot of reptiles that you got to factor. And I've driven over more than once a snake pushing the push mower.
Well, the good news is if you drove over it, it'd be dead.
But it's flopping around like a fish out of water, and you got to do a little. You got to do the 1-2 hop step. You got to do a hop skip over it.
Yeah, he may lose a toe.
And you don't want the piggies exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm nervous for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was talking about it. It keeps him grounded.
Hey, that's very true. It's very, very holistic of him.
I think you could get your hands dirty and have the same thing happen.
No, actually, that's not true. Your feet on the earth, is that what grounds you? I read about it in a book.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get behind that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to cut the grass with shoes on, but they're Crocs.
I think you're proving your age right now, though, a little bit, maybe.
Crocs?
I like Crocs.
Crocs are a good compromise.
You're not going to be grounded, though.
It's aerated. It's an aerated foot.
I think the whole point of grounding is for your feet to be on the ground. I think that's like in the definition.
Yeah. Well,
Well, we're not going to be grounded, but Jackson's not going to have all his toes.
Grounded from back in my day, grounded meant you were sent to your room. Now the kids walking around barefoot.
Back in your day, if Jackson would have cut the grass barefoot, he would have been grounded.
Oh, he would have been
not grounded outside.
He would have been
grounded
double grounded.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. Anyway, Two Old Guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Two Old Guys podcast.
Yeah.
We're just here trying to figure out the next generation with the rest of everybody.
No, never going to happen.
Yeah, it's not. So
it's actually more rare that somebody's cutting their own grass these days.
I am impressed by that.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Maybe
there's hope.
Maybe I should have started with, I'm very proud of Jackson, who in his
You're proud of his work ethic. You're just judging his approach. But the good thing is you have a relationship. So back to our last episode, you're not criticizing, you're correcting.
No, we're going to circle back. I just need to seek some understanding. That's all. Yeah.
Clarifying question.
It's going to be the same time when my son cuts my grass for the first time, when I let him do that. And it's going to be.
But you love cutting your grass. Are you going to let him do it?
I think I'll give him a shot at it. And it's going to be crooked lines. It's not going to be as good as I could do it. And I'm going to have some questions.
So I had to cut the grass growing up. And starting about 12, 13. And then we moved to a little bit of property, like 4 or 5 acres. And the edging and weed eating got a lot more. And then my dad bought a riding lawnmower.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really ironic that as soon as we got a riding lawnmower with less lawn, he started cutting the grass and I started weed eating and edging.
Right. Yeah.
So I really felt like I got the raw end of the deal. I live for free. So yeah.
It all worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. I came out on top, but back then I did not feel that way.
Well, and you learned a new skill set on how to run a weed eater. So which
still helps me today.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
You have no idea about today's topic.
Not one clue.
And I wrestled a little bit with this topic because I feel like I want to peel the curtain back on my life a little bit.
Are we doing another counseling session?
No. This isn't counseling.
Okay. Because I'm gonna start charging for this.
It could be. This is real. I know we joke a lot.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I really feel like this is like a phone call kind of conversation that you and I would talk about. I think as I was really kind of preparing for these recordings, I really sensed a strong leading that this was something that God wanted us to process on this format. This is why it's a little intimidating, because it's kind of like a personal matter.
Yeah.
on this format, but maybe it's because there's some listeners out there that just need to hear how two friends have good conversations. I don't know. Maybe it's, because there's other listeners that think that pastors are this picture perfect, put together Christian. I'm not really sure, but I'm just going to try to be obedient with it and kind of see where it goes. But we are pastors, which it's an amazing job, but like every job, it has its pros and its cons.
That's
right.
Very true.
Every job does. Every job has sacrifices and costs and stress. Yep. All of it. Right. And I think what you and I have had previous conversations on is our kids. We both have, you have 2 boys. I have 3 kids. And pastors' kids, or PKs as they call them in the biz. Yeah, the PKs. Have a reputation that is not always great. Right. Yeah. And so as you're thinking about starting a church, this was like our kids were infants or not even born in some instances. Yeah. As we're talking about what we want our kids and what we want church to look like. And I've always tried to have a healthy balance between what I do as a profession, as a pastor, and what my expectations are on my kids and all of that, right? What I expect we both do. And when we were young, them coming to church all the time was actually easy, right? When they're babies and small, and we just spend all day Sunday at church. And as we've grown and as they've grown, now it's, the expectation is you're not at church all day. Right. You serve a service and you attend a service. Yep. And you can go home. Yeah. And there's going to be all kinds of different things that look different, right? But what I'm recognizing is because of what I do, they'll always feel a weight. Does it make sense? Because of what we do, there's a weight that our kids feel because of who we are within the church that we're in.
I think, yes, there will always be people trying to put weight on them. I don't know that I agree that they have to feel it. I think we can shield them. We can talk about how we can shield them from it. But yes, there will be a perceived expectation from our families and from our kids. Yeah.
Well, health, like good intentioned people. Yeah. And it's happened, right? They'll make comments. They'll say things like, I know who your dad is. You should be better than that. Yeah. Which has happened, right? Yeah. And I'm not mad at people for saying those things, but it does plant seeds in our kids' heads.
For sure.
That cause them to.
There is a built-in pressure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, I want my kids to make the right decisions.
For sure.
But I want them to make the right decisions because it's the right decisions, not because they're my kids.
For sure.
Right. So talk a little bit. You made a comment quickly about healthy boundaries or healthy parameters, or what was the language? You used the term.
Yeah. I don't remember. It was 30 seconds ago. I guess I have short-term memory loss. I started thinking about an answer. I just feel like we have to set the expectation. If you're in ministry, for your spouse, if she's or he is not in ministry, or your kids, that like, if I was a plumber, it doesn't mean my whole family's got to be plumbers.
Right.
So like, my wife and my kids don't have to be pastors if they don't want to be.
Right.
So therefore, they have not signed up for the same standard that you hold me to.
Yeah.
So you should act different. No, my boys are 13 and 9. I expect them to act like 13 and 9-year-olds. Yeah. And I expect to reward them for good behavior and discipline them for bad behavior.
Yep.
But they're not any different than your kids. Like, they're just kids.
Yeah.
And so we made it early on. Like, my boys don't have to do what's expected by the congregation, if you will. Like, both my boys serve at church when they're there.
Yep.
They attend service, but they don't have to hug anybody they don't know. Like, they don't have to greet. Like, they're like, I know you. I know your dad. We're like, well, I don't know you, you weirdo. Like, yeah. So they, like, I've told them from a very early age, like, no, you're, and I've always tried to reward them because the church takes dad away. So I remember when the kids were, both kids would get 2 lollipops, like 2 of those like dum-dums in the kids service. And people are like, why'd they get 2? Because it's our church, and like, they're here for 3 services. If they want 2 suckers, they're going to have 2 suckers. Like, so always trying to balance, like, the church adds more value, than it takes away. But yeah, just letting people know, like, you can hold me to a higher standard because I'm your pastor, but my 9-year-old's not your pastor.
Right. No, I think that's part of what is new for us right now is my kids are getting the older two specifically, are getting to ages where they walk into environments and more people know who they are because of who I am than know them for who they are.
Good.
And it's an interesting place to be, helping them process that, right?
Yeah. I think one of the ways I've helped my boys is when we go out to eat or to the grocery store or anywhere, we have a lot of conversations. We've been like so many pastors, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't go anywhere. Like we prayed for that. So God's really released me from that. So like I love seeing church people, but I just talk to the boys about influence. But what I'm teaching them is nobody knows me either. So one of the habits I have is I introduce myself to everybody. And they're like, oh, I know who you are. I was like, no, you don't. I will say that.
Yeah.
I know you know me, but we've never met before.
Right.
Because I'm like, you don't need to introduce yourself to me. I was like, yeah, I do, because we've never met.
Yeah.
And I'm showing the boys, like, they think they know me, but they don't know me. And then we talk about, they don't know you either. So don't let anybody, kind of like last episode, don't let anybody that doesn't know you define you. So there's no expectations on you. You need to be a great kid and have high character and integrity because that's what God's called you to, not because somebody that you don't know expects that of you.
Yeah. Well, I think you said something that kids, just to take it even out of the context of our world with ministry, 13-year-old kids are 13-year-old kids, no matter what you do and who you are. Even like I can look at celebrities or politicians or people that we put on pedestals all the time outside of just the church world, and we judge what their kids do. We hold them almost like responsible for it. And it's in a way that's just not even fair. For sure. I think there's even layers of helping my kids understand that you're not bringing embarrassment onto our family by making dumb decisions. Right.
I don't even agree with that theologically, practically. Like, God gave us all free will. So my kids, my job is to make sure that I raise them the best that I can.
Yeah.
But their decisions are their decisions.
Yeah.
Like when they grow up, like that's not me. Now I got to look back and say, did I do everything that I could do? Did I instill character? Did I instill values? Did I teach? Did I listen? Did I prioritize relationship over being right? Like I have to look back if my kids go off the rails at any season, I have to look back at my part in it. But at the end of the day, like our kids are their own people. Like I am responsible for protecting, helping, encouraging, building up. But as they get older and older, like our kids are, there's a certain time where I'm not responsible for their decisions.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for setting them up to make good decisions. But at the end of the day, I can't make you make the right decisions, and I can't make them make the right decisions.
Yeah. I mean, these last, probably the last year or so of parenting, it hasn't gotten worse. People will tell you middle school's like worse. It hasn't gotten worse. It's gotten heavier because now are these times where like, the answers I'm giving them are going to be determining how much counseling they need when they're adults, right? These are the stages that are really, really determining. Yeah,
that's the world we live in. Like you judge your parenting by how many hours of counseling your kids need when they get to be adults.
I mean, yeah, that's real. And this is where that's starting to happen. Yeah. Like these are the years that really becomes,
for sure,
assuming that their childhood was safe and protected. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's so heavy, but I think that's something like we can just do the best that we can do. Like I have a childhood trauma story, like pretty severe. And I had great parents who did the best that they could. Like they didn't do anything wrong. And yet I was still a victim of sexual childhood trauma. Yeah. So I think I just want to release some parents today. Like you're not God, so you can't control everything. You can just wake up every day and do the best that you can do and have all the intentional conversations, prioritize relationship over being right. The fact that they come back and talk to you again is the win. Right. Not that you fix everything in the moment. So I just think sometimes we look at our kids and are like, if you don't represent the family well, people are going to think less of me. No, why don't you just worry about being the best dad or best mom that you can be, instilling the best values, but you can't control everything. We can't keep them safe from everything. We can't protect them from everything. We can't make all the right decisions for them. So they get in trouble at school. Like both of our kids have gotten in trouble at school before, like all kids have. That's not a reflection of Tyler and Kelly. That's a reflection of the child.
Right.
Now we need to go back and look at what do we do and how do we get better. But at the end of the day, they made that decision, not me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. I think there's another piece to parenting that I think I try to do okay is like notice and try to lean into intuition when my kids need to have a conversation. And a lot of times I'm forcing that, or I'm starting it or initiating it. Maybe that's a better word, is initiating it. And I'm curious, you probably feel the same things because I know you and your boys talk all the time. So maybe walk through a little bit about how you're reading when I need to kind of lean in to have a conversation here. Because again, at teenagers, you're initiating that more than they're initiating it with you.
So I have consistent times with them, but I don't ever force it.
Yeah.
Now, if there's an issue happening, I force it. But like, I try and take the boys on the weeks that I have them based off our unique circumstances. I try and take one of the boys or pick one of them up every single day. And I'm fortunate enough to do that because of our great team at the church and the businesses that I have, that I work as much and as hard as anybody that I know, but my schedule is flexible. So I have mornings or afternoons with one of them. And when they're ready to talk, we just lean in. Yeah. Like, it's amazing, throwing the football in the backyard. We call them trash talks because we have a long driveway here at our house. And so I'll take Bentley, usually the first day that I get him is Fridays. And so we'll go get the trash, bring it back up, and we'll just walk the driveway and just talk about the week. And sometimes we're talking about Madden. Sometimes we're talking about the test.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we're out there for 40 minutes talking about something he's wrestling with. And so just opening up dialogue. And then it's amazing if you'll just be intentional talking to your kids, they'll let you know. And then when they let you in, I always encourage parents, when they let you in, because as they get older, it's fewer and further between, like, just stay there. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
And just and if they want to talk, let them talk.
Yeah.
If it's past their bedtime, if it's inconvenient, if they're opening up, you don't know when the next time they're going to open up is. So just lean in. Like, there's nothing more important than just literally gathering all of that information and making that investment.
Yeah. I can remember when our sons were younger and you and I would joke around about the conversations that we just had to endure, quite honestly. It was Legos. Yep. It was Marvel. Yep. It was DC. It was just like, good night. And that's paving, like, that's laying the foundation.
Well, we're getting older now, and we joked about it before, but I would give anything, like, they were so annoying in the moment, and I would give anything to have the conversations again. Yeah. Because, like, they're getting to a point where, and we're close with all of our kids currently, but I miss being the hero. You got to watch this. Like, if I could just hear one of my boys and say, "Dad, watch this," and then just do something that's not impressive. Like, when I watch some of our younger friends, like, they're like, "Hey, watch this," and they like jump, and it's like, that's not impressive. But I would give anything for the whole world to revolve around my opinion again. So I would just encourage any parents, like, just take advantage of all the time that you have and make the biggest investment in every season. And because we endured, at least my situation, because I endured those annoying conversations, now I still have the opportunity to still have a lot of really great conversations with the boys. Yeah. That now I want to have. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think going back to just the personal kind of struggle with some of this stuff is, a lot of it is, this is what we signed up for when we said yes to the call in our life to do this. But I think maybe too, it's maybe helpful just for people to hear some of the realities of what we do, and how we're navigating some of those things on a regular basis. Like, I have never felt more challenged to really trust God with all the prayers that I've prayed over my kids than in this stage right now. It's really, really challenging because I can't control them.
I actually think, and our situations are similar in our vocation, what we do, but different in just our personal journeys. But what God's teaching me, I don't want to speak for you, but what God's teaching me is, it took me 2 or 3 years going through kind of personal tragedies in my life to trust God again. Yeah. Like, fully. And I think we've talked about that some in podcasts. I definitely talked about it in sermons. Like, it took a while. Like, I trusted God for other people, but I didn't trust him for me. about a year and a half ago, I started trusting him again for me. The new journey, what you just said, and I think is a bigger step of faith, is trusting God with your kids.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And I got like chills, just like, it really is like this test of faith of like, yeah, I trust you with me, but now these humans that I would die for, that I do everything for, like, do I trust you with their decisions?
Yeah.
With their relationships, with their struggles? I think God gives us kids not only to show us his heart, because I've never loved anybody like I love my kids in the same way. I love my wife that much, but like different.
Yeah.
I think he gives us, but he also gives that picture not only for that protection and that love, but also I think that challenge, because if we're not careful, we want to control, fix, protect, create safety and comfort. And God saying, I love them more than you love them. Like, release them.
I would call it the Abraham moment that every parent has to have, right? And now we're not being called to sacrifice our kids, thank God. But we are, in a way, spiritually trusting their future to God. And
you are releasing
that.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a perfect example, because he released control.
Yeah.
And that's what we had at a certain point. And that's why I think that the pivot happens. And I don't know if you were trying to go here, but I think if I could help, and I'm new to it, but I lived it with my parents. There's a certain age, and every kid's different, where you turn from like parent to coach.
Right.
Then kind of coach to like advisor, and then kind of advisor to friend. I always encourage parents, like, release control at every season at the appropriate time, or you will lose influence with your kids. Yep. If you try and parent a teenager the same way you did a toddler, they're not listening. Like, there are evolutions of parenting where you have to just take step backs, not in your intentionality, not in your love for them, but your approach has to change, or you will lose influence.
Yeah. And practically speaking, how are you kind of gauging that it's time to shift, it's time to change? You're watching their body language, you're watching them.
You said intuition earlier. It's just what used to work's not working. Yeah. So now I'm listening more, I'm asking more questions, and I'm picking my spots.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to be on Bentley the same way I was when he was 10. He's 13. He'll be 14 this year. Yeah. It's questions, still accountability, still guardrails, still some dad moments, but they're getting less and less of dad and more like, hey, what do you think about? Yeah. Man, what if we didn't say that? Yeah. What if we approached it this way? Right. And then conversationally letting him land there, because there's a certain point where he's not just going to do it because dad said so. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, it's true. I think that's a lot of the anxiety within parents is there's not really a roadmap. There's not. There's definitely principles, and the Bible's a fantastic resource. We live in 2024. There's all sorts of parenting resources, but there's all of this weight to do it the right way because there's so much on the line. Well, we've learned too, because we have multiple kids. You're like, there's not just a roadmap to the principles of parenting. There's not even a roadmap inside your own home. Like, your kids are different. Absolutely. I cannot parent my two boys the same way. They are polar opposite. Yeah. Yeah. No, like with Kings, I say all the time, I say, pick your battles. Yeah. Like, there are things that I hold Bentley accountable to that I don't hold Kings to, because he has a different personality. He has different strengths. He has different weaknesses. So there's things that Bentley could never get away with that Kingston can. And it's not because I'm like inconsistent. It's because I prioritize relationship and teaching the big things. And it's like, that's fine. Yeah. We'll get to that later. Yeah. Let's focus on this. Last week, my youngest was upset with an interaction that happened in the home. And I was having to break down with her, hey, we're not perfect parents. There aren't any perfect parents. Right. And so we missed it there. Yeah. But I need you to understand that the way that this thing's working for mom and dad is you, your brother, and your sister are like 3 buckets that are full of water. And dad's got this beam on his back and he's balancing all 3 buckets. Yep. And they're telling me not to spill any water. Impossible. Just trying to survive. So I just spilled a little water today, and we'll work through that. But that is the picture of how I feel with parenting multiple kids. Is good luck. Don't spill any water. And if you do, you're completely screwed it all up. And I think we should let some parents off the hook. One of the best things you can do is own your mistakes and apologize to your kids.
Yeah.
It is, well, it's one of the best things you can do in relationships, right? Is to say, hey, I missed it. Will you forgive me? And that happens several times a year.
Yeah.
Where, I remember Kingston last year forgot his binder. And it's like the second time it happened in a month. And we're all the way at school. School's 20 minutes away. I got a busy day. And we're in there. And he's like, I got to turn all the way back around. And I'm yelling. Like I told you, I asked you if you had everything. And so he's crying. By the time we get back to school, I have to take a moment, park, and just say, hey, Dad forgets things all the time. Like literally every day I forget something. Like I'm the idiot. Like I messed up. Will you forgive me? And that's a bonding moment because they realize like, hey, my parents are people too. I made a mistake. Yeah. So don't be afraid to apologize.
Yeah. Apologize to your kids, lean in the right moments, and don't cut your grass barefoot. Yeah. That's the lessons of today's podcast.
Yes. Don't let your kids cut their grass barefoot.
Definitely. Yeah, that's actually probably fair.
I think Jackson's parents would probably have
we need to send
some
this
questions.
To Jackson's parents.
Yeah.
This episode is
he's at the age now where they're probably friends advisor. So maybe just some clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep all your toes?
What I'm hearing is I need to talk to Mr. Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson?
No, Mr.
Okay.
Jackson.
We won't say his last name because it's a podcast, but
it's not important.
It's not.
He doesn't need that kind of shout out.
No, he doesn't.
No, he's not. He hasn't earned that.
He's earned it.
If he cut the grass in shoes, I'd maybe give him a full name shout out, but that's not going to happen here. Not today. Well, hey, thanks for listening. We hope it was helpful discussions today. If you liked it, rate it, share it, subscribe.
If you don't listen.
If you don't listen. Yeah. 5 stars and up.
5 stars only.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next episode. Well, hey, everyone, thanks so much for listening today. Please subscribe for more content, and you can follow us at Say It Different Podcast.